Hey everybody, welcome to She BBQ TV. Today we're going to make ribs. We're going to make wet ribs and dry ribs. Folks in my family like wet and sweet, and some of them like dry and spicy. So start off with a nice rack of ribs, cut them open, pull them on out, and you're going to want to get a membrane that's on the back of these baby backs off. You're just going to take a knife and poke it next to the bone, peel that membrane up, just like that, easy as that. And then you're going to get a paper towel. There it is. It's going to make it really easy, and you're just going to grab the edge of that membrane and pull it off. It'll just come right on off. You want to trim up the ribs. If there's any fat or there's any meat that's kind of hanging off that you know is going to burn, you don't want that on there. So just trim it off. We'll cook it and be able to eat it. It's still good. You just don't want it on your ribs. There's a little flappy piece there. We're going to cut that off, and we'll put that on the smoker too. If you find you got a little too much fat, you can just take a nice sharp knife and trim it down. You want to get down to the meat for sure. Alright, now it's time to apply the rub. And to do that, you need some plain old yellow mustard. Hey, there we go. And I'm going to be using Cimarron Doc's rib rub for the wet ribs. And for the dry ribs, I am going to be using a rub that I made up. Actually, I kind of copied it from the Rendezvous in Memphis, Tennessee. Whoop, there you go. Goodbye. So we're going to take our ribs, and we're going to take the yellow mustard and just going to put a nice even coat on there. All you're trying to do is just make the ribs sticky to where they're going to accept the moisture or accept the rub. So when you're putting the mustard on there, think suntan lotion, not peanut butter. You just want a nice thin coat, both sides, front and back. Once you've done all that, then you're going to take your rib rub and you're going to sprinkle it on there. It's not going to be a heavy coat, but it is going to be a heavy dusting for sure. You're still going to be able to see the meat underneath the ribs. So get them all. You're going to want to get the front and the back, and you're going to want to get the sides too, where all those bones are, and then along the edges also. That's a really good eating part, the ends there. Okay, there you go. So we'll put the rub on that, and on my other set of ribs, we're going to be putting a dry rub. There you go, like the Rendezvous in Memphis, Tennessee. So that's it. So there's our rubs. There's the for the dry ribs, and there's the rub for the wet ribs. Now I went ahead and put these in the refrigerator and let them set, covered up in saran wrap for several hours. And so the rub is really set well into them. And now it is time for the grill. So you set up your smoker, however you like to smoke, and you get your ribs on there. And you're going to go ahead and smoke your ribs at 250 degrees for about 2 hours, right? And for the dry ribs, we're going to make a mop, and it's going to be about a cup of apple cider vinegar, a cup of water, and then 2 tablespoons of the dry rub, the Rendezvous dry rub. And we're going to be basting the ribs about every 15 minutes after the 1 hour mark. So there's the 1 hour mark. The ribs have been going. The ones on top are going to be our wet ribs, and the ones on the bottom are going to be the dry. And so we're going to mop those front and back about every 15 or 20 minutes for the rest of the next hour, to bring up to a total of 2 hours worth of cooking. And you can see the little pieces that we had cut off, and it's time to take those off and enjoy a little treat. Yep. So I flipped them over, basted them on both sides, and now I'm going to turn them back. There we go. They are looking good. So this is, I don't know, about an hour and a half or so that we've been cooking them so far. And we're going to just flip them over and baste them on the other side. Yep, baste them on the top. And we're going to let the ribs that are on the top rack continue to cook. Okay, now at the 2 hour mark, we are going to wrap the ribs. You're going to need brown sugar, some honey. You're going to want your seasoning, right? Yeah. And we're going to go ahead and and we're going to wrap our ribs. So you're going to take the ones that are going to be your wet ribs, and you're just going to bring them over, and I got heavy duty aluminum foil, 2 sheets per rib, And you're going to just take the rib and take your honey and just kind of spread it on there. Not a whole lot. You're just looking to get it, it'll melt pretty quick once it hits the hot ribs, and you're looking for something for the spice to stick to. So we'll go ahead and put the spice on there, a little bit more rub, and then we're going to finish it off with brown sugar. And you're going to do the front and the back, and get these things ready to go back either on the grill or into the oven. There we go. A little bit more there. I'm going to turn them over and do the same thing on the other side. Just honey. Spice. And then finish it off with some more brown sugar. Now, really good color on these ribs, and you don't want to lose that color. So you don't want to steam these ribs, you want to braise them. You want to braise them in the liquid that's going to form from all the good stuff you just put on there. So we're gonna wrap these ribs tight, probably tighter than you think you should wrap them. And you want to use 2 sets of aluminum foil just in case you poke a hole in that bottom one. You don't want any of the juice to run out. So go ahead and wrap those up once and then again. Then we're going to squeeze it. I mean squeeze it hard to get all of that aluminum foil close to the ribs. And that's going to preserve your color. That's going to preserve the bark on the ribs. And there you go. So these are going to go back in the oven, or they're going to go in the oven or on your grill about another hour and a half at 210 degrees. Okay? Now, we're going to make a glaze for the ribs. You ever wonder how the guys in the competitions get those ribs to look so, you know, nice and shiny and stay shiny for a long time? Well, here's how they do it. They take half barbecue sauce, half honey, and that's it. Mix that together, and then that's what they glaze the ribs with. You do not put them back on the grill, because as they're hot, hey, what are you doing over there? As they're hot, you go ahead and put it on there, and it makes it nice and shiny. Okay, so that's our rub. Hey, what's she doing? Okay, so here are our our dry ribs that are done now, and we're going to put one last baste on them. Yeah, so you'll put the last bit of mop on it. So we're at about the 3 hour and 15 minute mark for these guys. I'm determining that they're done. One last mop, and then you're going to take your dry rub and sprinkle it on them. Yeah, and with that wet mop that's on there, this dry rub's gonna stick to it really nice, and that's how you finish off your dry ribs. Looks just like the Rendezvous in Memphis. Okay, there they are. There's your dry ribs. Ready to cut. Okay, so now our wet ribs are ready to come out of the oven. So they're coming out of the oven, and we're just gonna unwrap them and let the steam come off about 2-3 minutes or so, not very long. Let the steam come off, and those are gonna be really hot, but you can see the juices that are in there, and you're gonna want to save that juice, because it's a really good dip or a barbecue sauce if you want to use it for that. It's nice and sticky because of all the honey and brown sugar. Now we're going to get our glaze that we made, and that's, you know, half honey and half barbecue sauce, and you baste them up. And basically that's it. You're ready to go. We have got our wet ribs done, and we have got our dry ribs done. Now comes the fun part. We get to enjoy. There they are, wet ribs and dry ribs. Looks good. Looks good. So the 2 hours that we smoked them definitely was long enough to get a really good smoke flavor on them. There you go. Nice smoke ring around there. They were good. They were juicy. They were not dried out at all. Hope you enjoyed. She BBQ TV. Bye.